Welcome to day 2 on what's happened to our foods and how to be additive smart and additive aware, knowing which food additives are potentially causing problems in yourself and in your family, and what can you do about it. So today we're going to be looking at colours and flavours. There are artificial colours and natural colours, artificial flavours and natural flavours that we need to talk about. Sadly, there are natural additives that are causing problems, and so they need to be part of our discussion. So firstly, the artificial colours and colours in general. Now there is a convenient numbering system used with our food additives. When you come across anything starting with a 1, you know automatically that that is referring to a colour. So the ones are the artificial colours. There are 14 of them that are allowed to be used in Australia. Many of these are actually banned or restricted in other countries, however. So here you have the list of artificial colours. The natural colours we're going to look at in a moment. You have both the number and the name for them. Quite a number of them I'm not too good at pronouncing, so I'm not even going to try. By all means, have a go at it yourself. Now, the artificial colours used to be termed the coal tar dyes because they were literally derived from petroleum. So when you have ever seen some petrol spilt on the ground and some light has caught it or some water, you'll have noticed that the beautiful shimmery rainbow colours that come through from petrol. And this is the history that we have for our artificial colours that we are inhaling and eating petrols. Admittedly today, they are not strictly derived from petroleum, they are more chemically synthesized, but they are still using components of petrol. So they still mostly use aromatic hydrocarbons that are derived from petrol itself. So they still have their roots in that base. The problem with colours is that they are not only in sweets and lollies, but also in everyday foods. And if we had them only occasionally, they wouldn't be as big as a problem. So if we only had sweets and lollies occasionally, then we are only getting a minimal amount of artificial colours coming into our system, and our body can just clear them out, ideally. But when we have them in our regular foods, we are being exposed to them a lot more commonly, and that an intolerance reaction is more likely to result because the amount is higher within our body. So what are the problems with colours? There is some good research discussing this. The Southampton University study was a large government-funded, randomised controlled trial with results published in the prestigious Lancet. Now, when we're talking about research and studies, if you have something that follows the structure of a randomised controlled trial, that is the best structure and form of research that you can get. So here we have already a top quality type of study. On top of that, it's been published in a very respected and top quality journal as well. In other words, this isn't some little basic poor research that we're looking at. We're looking at good quality research being provided for us. In the study, they looked at 297 children. So again, it's not just a handful, it's a good size. And these children were not necessarily hyperactive. So you can't argue that giving, say, a red drink or a red frog to a hyperactive child just made them hyperactive, because what's the difference? They found that even normal healthy children can be affected by additives and by colours. They summarise the findings to say that additives can most definitely reduce the ability to benefit from schooling. In other words, your child may not relate as well, maybe may find it hard to sit still and to concentrate, and they're just not going to benefit from schooling and not going to be able to learn to their potential. And obviously that's going to cause long-lasting disadvantage. As a result of that study, ever since 2010 in the UK, they will now put a warning on packaged foods that use certain artificial colours, with a warning that says may have an adverse effect on behaviour and attention in children. However, even though that research has gone on has been available since earlier, and the changes were made in the UK since 2010, Australia has not followed suit. Let's quickly skip over to the sneaky natural colours, because these are colours that are causing problems to the same extent as what the artificial colours do. We have cochineal, which is number 120, and cochineal some people won't like because of where they are made, and they're made from the outer coating of crushed beetles. It is a natural colour, and most people are actually fine with this, but some people are finding that it will cause an allergic reaction with it. Then we have Annatto 160B, also technically another natural colour, naturally derived from crushed seeds, but these are significant in the responses that you're going to get to this colour. Strong allergic reactions, strong intolerances. So when we talk about colour 160B Annatto, it will cause all the common food intolerance reactions that you may remember from yesterday, but especially seems to be behind tantrums and head banging. And it was the only way that we could work out that this natural colour was causing a problem was that when the foods that contained this colour were taken out of a child's diet, the behaviour stopped. When the foods were brought back in that contained the colour, the reaction came back, or the response came back. Manufacturers use this colour in a lot of natural looking foods because the 160B gives that lovely creamy natural looking colour to foods. Now they don't have to use it. Firstly, why do they need to colour something a natural colour? It should look natural. And secondly, they have an option. They can use colour 160A, also known as beta carotene, another natural colour but without the horrible problems that can be found with 160B. Now this is the concerning thing about colours, is that they are not just confined to junk food, to treat foods, to takeaway foods, to foods that you would expect, but they are found in ordinary, boring, everyday foods, even something like breadcrumbs. 160B is widely used because it is a natural colour and consumer perception that anything that is natural is going to be better, so more and more manufacturers are using it. As I mentioned, it helps to give that lovely creamy, thick, natural looking colour to food. So it's commonly used in your yogurts, in custards, in ice cream. Here you have an example of a brand that is using natural colour 160B. Remember 160B for bad. If they used 160A, it would be all right. You'll find a colour even in something like cheese. Why do we need to have a colour in cheese? And even in products that label themselves being free from artificial colours, flavours, sweeteners or preservatives, you would buy that thinking that you were doing your family a favour and being very health conscious. But because you have 160B, which is a natural colour, you need to double check that despite them saying there's no bad stuff in there, turn it over and see whether they've used 160B as a colour in there. Let's look over at the flavours now. Flavours, the big secret. There are more than 2,000 approved flavouring chemicals that don't have to be described on food labels, partly because they're just not going to fit on the label if they try to fit all the chemicals in there that make up a flavour, but mainly because they're considered to be closely guarded trade secrets. So if your company has spent a lot of money and devised this amazing flavour that will make something taste just like something else, that gives you the edge over your competitors because everyone's going to want to buy your product. So if, like many people, you think natural flavours are good and artificial flavours are bad, well, think again about that one. The way it works with our current labelling regulations, you actually can't tell whether you are buying an artificial flavour or a natural flavour. All that needs to be written is flavour. Manufacturers will choose to put down natural flavours on there so that you have the perception that you are buying something that is better or that is healthier. It actually doesn't matter that we don't know whether something is strictly artificial or natural if the manufacturer has chosen not to distinguish between the two, because there is very little difference chemically between a natural flavour or an artificial flavour. The problem we have with natural flavours is the dose and what that means to someone. So how will you know whether you need to worry about flavours in your household and whether they're causing problems or not? Here are some clues. It will affect your health if you are intolerant to them. It may result in headaches and migraines, all kinds of different rashes, which may present as hives, as even as eczema, as dermatitis, or any other itchy rash, whether it's identified or not. It can result in stomach aches, bloating, reflux, constipation, bedwetting, and those sneaky poos again. It can trigger asthma episodes, result in a frequent cough, or stuffy and runny nose that just won't go away. Even frequent colds, flu, and ear infections can be attributed to the use of flavours in our food supply. Joint pains and swelling of the joints. Heart palpitations, so that racing heart or that unusual heartbeat, fast heartbeat, or a pseudo heart attack even. Behaviour-wise, these are what we commonly associate, with the party food and the red frog and the red drink and that kind of thing. But look at the different types of behaviour and how broad spread it is. There are sleep disturbances that can result. So whether problems falling asleep, constantly waking up, night terrors, where the child has a nightmare and it doesn't matter what you do, you can't wake them out of it. Restless legs again. All kinds of restless behaviour, such as loud voice, being irritable, easily distracted, demanding, and easily bored. Irritability, so being touchy or easily annoyed, losing your temper really easily, and throwing tantrums. Oppositional defiance, which can be defined as having constant temper outburst, often says no when there's not even any good reason to say no, refuses any request made of the person, defies all rules, and is always angry. Inattention, so being forgetful, disorganised, having that foggy brain, lots of adults talk about this, and kind of that dreamy state. And let's not forget about the moods either, so anxiety, where they're feeling just really lethargic, depressed, panic attacks, and just plain downright unhappiness, being grisly, miserable, and crying frequently. That was just the artificial flavours. Remember, we can be affected by the natural flavours as well, particularly if they're eaten in high enough amounts. Remember, the issue with colours and flavours is that it's all about the dose. You'll probably be fine with just a small amount, but eat that on a regular basis, on a consistent basis, and let that dose creep up, and very likely you'll get a response. Natural flavours and colours are being in very concentrated amounts that you don't normally eat. It is not natural to eat such a huge hit of those chemicals, natural or otherwise. Because man-made flavours such as, artificial strawberry is so cheap, it is easy to add a lot more to a food, the manufacturer that is, than you would ever eat in one serve of a natural food. So, for example, many people are not affected by the food chemicals in one strawberry. However, people, especially children, if they eat enough of the concentrated dose, which is what the natural colours and flavours are, they are concentrated amounts of the chemicals, and particularly if they have them many times or every day and in different kinds of foods, they can be affected in a variety of ways. So if you're concerned about the use of colours and flavours, both natural and artificial, in our food supply, and you suspect that you are probably seeing reactions in yourself or your children, what are you going to do? Here are some ideas for you. You can simply choose to avoid anything that has very strong flavours in it and only buy products that say that they have a vanilla flavour in there. Vanilla is often a hugely well tolerated food additive and flavour in products. Or you can simply stick to the doses provided in nature. In other words, use natural products to naturally flavour foods that you buy yourself. So you can add fresh strawberries to plain yogurt instead of buying strawberry flavoured yogurt. Or you can choose to buy products that have low or no flavours in them. Another easy option is simply just to buy organic products because often these will be the safest. For example, yogurts are more likely to contain only real fruit as flavouring, or they will only use vanilla as the flavouring additive rather than using a chemical flavouring agent. You'll find also that organic chocolate tastes very different from your standard supermarket lines and brands that you have for chocolate. That does mean it's an acquired taste to get used to organic chocolate, admittedly. However, even in organic chocolate, there can be flavour used, but most of the time you're going to find that it refers to either vanilla or something, an essential oil such as orange oil or lemon oil. Often coconut flavours are also used quite heavily at the moment too. If you have a question, put it up on Facebook or email me about it, and we'll see you tomorrow for the next group of additives, being the preservatives.